this morning's agenda. Can I have someone call this meeting to order?
Okay, I will call the meeting to order.
Excuse absences, James was unable to be here. I'm gonna take a minute here and leave open for public comment if there is any. If there are any members of the public, just raise your hand virtually.
Do we need a motion to approve the minutes from last time?
Yep, we're ready. Approval of the minutes from August 13th.
And I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from August 13th.
I'll second.
Great. New business. First, we want to bring up the we want to talk about the draft FY22 Public Art Plan. This was previously reviewed by TAC. There have been 2 changes, and I'll just highlight what those are. They're highlighted in yellow. That is the recommendation to remove Fish Hop Sportsplex and put that money back into CIT, and to add New Tampa Performing Arts, since they're on your second page. That's going to be a large construction project that's going up in the New Tampa area. It's going to be a huge performing arts center that is quite deserving of some really, really nice art. So those are our recommendations for approval from the TAC. If there are any objections or discussions.
Just a question would be the future roundabouts, that is included in the budget, is that correct? Or?
So there are some that have been funded. As the policy was written, it is that every new roundabout is to receive art with the direction of that commissioner of that district.
Mm-hmm.
So that basically the district commissioner has to say that they want art there, and then they have to provide direction. So what's been happening is we've been adding the new roundabouts as they come along, and we're awaiting district commissioners to say if they want it. Funding has been appropriated for some of those roundabouts, not all. So where you see on the second page, future roundabouts, these are just some more that we know are coming. Estimated budgets are going to be $100,000. Funding may or may not come in the future. The ones that are on here, however, have been funded. The Durant Miller, Durant Dover, Montague and Memorial, Riverview Drive, and of course, we've already selected some art for some of those. The schedules have gotten, if you look at that, Durant Miller, Durant Dover, the schedule for those roundabouts have been pushed out into 2025. Lucky for us, we have our artwork selected if the artists are still available.
Okay.
4 years from now. We know what we want to do. But Riverview Drive is active, in progress. Bomboya is complete.
All right, thank you.
So I need, if there's any question or discussion about the 2 proposed changes.
I'm gonna ask one more question, that's about the new Tampa Performing Arts. They've already broken ground for that, or have they not? I don't seem to think they have.
I don't think they have, but it's coming very, very soon.
Okay, and they feel that 2022 seems to be realistic, or would that possibly
Yes.
change? That could,
This is Swati Bose. No, the project has actually broken ground. It is under construction. We expect it to be completed by next fall.
okay.
So we thought it would be a good time to have the artwork, starting on design and solicitation for it. So we have an architect who's very involved in the project, and there's a lot of excitement with the public and with the commissioners. So we believe this will be a good location for a significant piece of artwork on it. We did not have this previously on the list because we just didn't have the funding available for it. But I believe this will be a good project to get a lot of visibility, and the location is going to be a signature location. So that is what we are recommending at this time, but we will have to try to get this done as soon as possible. We could, the schedule for the artwork may not coincide exactly with the completion of the building and the dedication, but we could have its own separate dedication as the building began to be used and occupied.
All right, thank you, Swati. That's very informative.
Are there any other comments, questions? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve the revised FY22 Public Art Plan.
I'll move to approve it.
And I'll second it.
Great. Next item is County Center Lobby. 3 artists, as you remember, were selected to provide site-specific proposals: Sandra Braynt, Roberto Delgado, and Judith Inglese. The SAC and TAC both met, and Sandra Braynt was the top-ranked proposer. And now we are requesting the approval of Ms. Bryant's revised site-specific proposal. It may be hard to see. So I just wanted a little bit of background. Originally, I think she was providing approximately 200 square feet. In the revision, we asked her to provide 288 square feet. She provided that she was charging about $250 a square foot, so that added about $22,000 to this project from the initial 75. It's still under 100,000, so that's good. And she is going to provide a frame that surrounds it. I don't know if that was a question that we had, but internally it was. And so basically, down on the lobby floor, we spoke with our maintenance crew here and our facilities team, and they come in every so often and wax and buff the floor, so it couldn't go all the way to the floor like we thought. We needed to come up 2 feet, or we just came up right above where a natural reveal in the wall is. So it got shorter and longer. Okay, well. So I think, yeah, we told her that it should be 8 feet high by 36 feet wide, and that it would be mounted 24 inches above the finished floor, centered on the wall.
Is there an image of the revised
Yep, this is it.
Oh, I
Um,
thought there was some talk about not having hills.
So remember there was the people in the beginning. Yeah, we did talk about not having the hills and the mountains. That was a comment. And she claims that there's been an adjustment so that they're not so mountainous.
And she did remove the figures, the men.
Mm-hmm. She
Yeah.
added some citrus and.
It's still hard to see this as Florida. It
Yeah.
still looks like the Southwest, or
Yeah, it
like,
does.
or like the Midwest, I mean, somewhere, I don't know, it's not Florida.
I mean, there are some high places near Lakeland and,
They're trash heaps,
I mean, but it does, she still included these hills, which is kind of mythical rather than
Yeah.
reality.
Amanda,
Mm-hmm.
this is Jennifer. Good morning. I had a question about what you were saying about the depth and the height and the width with
Okay.
regard to her adding a frame. Has she put in place, what the frame is gonna encompass in terms of the size and the size in the lobby?
Yeah, so it doesn't interfere with the actual artwork.
Yeah, because it
but
goes right to the edges there.
Right, and so we specifically asked for a frame. So I think I brought that up, asking her to describe how that frame worked. And it's a wood frame that just is placed after it's mounted because it's in different pieces.
yeah.
So the frame goes up afterwards around it. It's a border.
And are those heels gonna be back in the background?
I would like to probably go back to her with another comment that she probably should just remove the hills altogether.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's just not, it like makes it look,
Well, and in combination with the verbiage that she's provided, it could be misconstrued that the inhabited land by the Minnesota civilization, they built several large temple mounds. It could be misconstrued that what she's representing there is like hills are related to the temple mounds of the Native Americans.
She mentioned that
Okay.
because that was my first question when I saw it, and she says, well, it relates back to the mounds that were here, and
Okay, so
and
I'm
those
on
would
the
be
right
like she said they weren't mountains, they were hills, and she's somewhat addressed this. She also,
There's so many-
unfortunately mentioned phosphate mining and
but all of that, like, I mean, I get it if she wants to argue they're not mountains, they're hills, but they are on the horizon line and they're taller than everything else, so those read as like 6,000 or 7,000 foot
Yeah, they're too
hills.
high.
And I've seen Indian mounds in
Yes.
the state of Florida, and they are not that large.
No.
They do look like phosphate mounds, I mean, the pyramids across the bay. But it doesn't
On that left side.
look like Florida.
yeah. I will provide that as a comment. That those just
We definitely, that was one of the things we had
Yeah.
asked her to adjust.
Yeah, so just to refresh everybody's memory, I have a copy right here of the comments provided. Basically, it was that the history of transportation should extend beyond the 1930s. The human element is not a requirement of the theme. If you choose to use the human element, the proposed artwork must be done with consideration to placement, attire, and inclusivity. Concerns, that we had concerns with the African-American man represented in blue collar clothes behind two Caucasian men in business clothes. There should be the inclusion of women. A streetcar should be included. Tampa International Airport should be included. And Steele Air Force Base should be included. Hillsborough County is relatively flat. The mountains, hills in the foreground are not representative of Hillsborough County. The included verbiage needs to be reviewed for accuracy by the Tampa Bay History Center and confirm that the current Hillsborough County fill is being used. And we talked about the size of not being enough in their initial proposal. So those were the comments as we review this, just to kind of refresh everybody's memory. I see that they've included MacDill Air Force Base, included the airport back here.
One more point, just around like the composition of the piece. If the title is The History of Transportation, it's really more of a hodgepodge of transportation because it goes back and forth from past to present, and it's just very, it's hard if you were just a viewer to be able to see how this
Hey,
all
Martine?
adds up together to take us to the present day. And I don't know if that can be corrected, but it's just so
23rd
back
floor.
and forth, back and forth.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you. That's Martine Collier from the Arts Council. She's on her way. She wanted to come to the meeting today.
Oh,
This is what
perfect.
it's like. She
Okay.
went to the long floor, so sorry.
Okay, so that comment would be more about,
Yeah, and I don't know if it's, you know, worthy of changing the whole design so far, but it's just as a viewer, as someone trying to, you know, consume this art, understand it, it doesn't make a logical linear from the history in the past to showing the conquistador ship from, you know, the 1600s to on the far right, a streetcar. Well, you know, is that the most modern example of transportation? Maybe she hadn't set it up that way, but I think it would be a stronger piece if it had some type of linear progression.
Mm.
And I only say that because everything looks very randomly placed presently.
I'm less interested in that, but just because I'm less interested in sort of the idea that history is somehow, like we put history in a linear progression to like teach it in school, but I feel like we live concurrently with like multiple histories and times and that kind of thing, and I feel like oftentimes in a work of art, like to expect it to read like a textbook isn't,
I
like,
apologize. I was right on time, but to the wrong meeting.
like the ability that a work of art can actually bring in a different type of narrative is important to me. And so unless, I guess, I feel less compelled to think that a work of art should read like a left to right text.
Yeah, I'm okay with the progression the way that it is.
Yeah.
To me, it's like a puzzle. Look here, I'm discovering it. I'm discovering this and then saying, oh, where did that come from? And where is the Gandy Bridge? It's hard for me to see it. I don't, you know. She mentioned the Gandy, and there was a question about that.
I mean, there's also like thinking about this, like this is gonna be, how big, 40 feet wide?
yeah,
Right, so like, things that are small on here are not,
small in real life.
right,
36 feet wide.
yeah.
This doesn't look like Florida.
And this is,
There's something about this picture that it just doesn't look like Florida.
It's just so odd that some of the items, I mean, they would be like that tree in the back, the palm tree would be, it's just so eclectic and jumbled together. I don't know. I mean, and how big would that piece of that fruit would be? Huge. It's as big as as the train. I don't know. And then that palm tree behind the airport would be like so huge. I don't know. It's so disjointed, I think, when I look at it. And I just was wondering what it would look like when it's huge.
did she send you an image, Amanda, just the image, or did she send it all still in?
No, this is what she's got.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, she just had the hills definitely, I feel, have to go. I mean, that's just not.
Okay.
That's not Hillsborough County, that's not this part of Florida.
So some
But
comments.
those are those phosphate mines on the right? Is that what that is? A road with a above the below the birds?
We're not sure.
I mean, and is that something that's related to transportation, phosphate mines? I mean, is that something you would want to
Well,
emphasize?
they could be the Indian mounds, their hills, they're open for interpretation.
I know that it's confusing because we're called Hillsborough County. But it's like, what's the highest point in Hillsborough County? It's like 300 feet.
Hyde Park.
So some comments that we have are that to remove the hills and scale.
Elevation range from 70 to 75 feet.
Oh.
So, like, I think maybe that should be elaborated, like when we're talking like our elevation is 70 feet to 75 feet. The highest point.
Did you ask her to send the image by itself?
Yep.
Not in with her proposal? Because, I mean, I just feel like we're missing a lot of
Details.
the detail that
Yeah.
she's put in it.
One last question. I know that we're going to have the text on the piece approved by the Hillsborough History Center. Should we run this by them before it's just the text that they have the ability to make a, any edits on? Because if they're reading the text and it correlates to something in the actual art that's, incorrect, should we give them both ahead of time while there's still considerations to be taken?
Sure.
That's a good idea.
On the budget page, she starts her
Yeah,
verbiage, so if we could, that could be. I just realized she have information about the banana, when we had the banana docks.
Yeah, I guess to my point earlier about, I think that there's just this split between it being a history of transportation and then like an artist interpretation of all the different phases of transportation. Like, I don't feel like it can be both. It can't be a history and then like a loose interpretation. If on the left, it has all the verbiage about the history since the 1600s to present, and then on the right, it's just, a loose representation of that. I know I'm harping on the point, but I think if you're going to show a linear story on the left and then show a back and forth between time on the right, it's a little disjointed. So. Because how in the verbiage is linear. Sorry.
I think you're asking it to be an illustration then and not an artwork. Like that, I guess like that's, do we want her to make an illustration or do we want her to make an artwork? They're different things.
Yeah, I do think though that like the pieces that are together should make sense in like the history of Hillsborough County together. For instance, to the left of the streetcars, I think that's what she's representing as, she brings up hotels and maybe that's more the,
I think she's left out something and we do too, we haven't caught it. The Port of Tampa, very significant part. And I just realized looking at all her things, it's like, oh my gosh, that is a major. I mean, I know she mentions, transportation agriculture on the railroad, and then she talks about the steamships. But this, the Port of Tampa, with the banana docks, the other things that came in, and then the cruise lines, I mean, tourist industry. But this is a major port, is Hillsborough County. And it has been since probably, definitely the early 1900s for sure. We can confirm that. But golly, how in the world I'm blaming myself. How did I miss that? And we could have some very upset people on the commission who would say, why you forgot this whole industry.
Okay. And is the Gandy Bridge something we want to have to include as well?
I think we have to go back one more time.
Yeah.
Can't avoid it. I and certainly appreciate the changes that she's made, from recommendations. But again, this is a process.
She's made a step in the right direction. So I just want to kind of summarize our comments and collect any more if there are any, to include the Gandy Bridge, the Port of Tampa, to remove the hills, mountains, whatever they may be, so that the elevation is representative of Hillsborough County. We want her in her next submission to send a single image, so that we can view it in detail. There's questions about the scale. An example to her would be the palm tree behind the airport. And I don't know if, I know I heard one of our members have the comment about having a linear progression.
It's fine, you can scratch it. And I understand the point. It's just, the title being A History of Transportation needs to have some factual accuracy. And I guess the one discord I have is just that it's not factually accurate in what it's representing presently, but I'm sure she can make revisions to update that.
So is that something that we want? I mean, she can't make it if we don't provide that as a comment.
No, we don't need to provide that as a comment about the linear nature.
Okay.
But I do think that the work and the text included should be provided to the History Center, potentially even before we send back these notes to her, so that we don't have another round of revisions after they've reviewed.
Okay. Okay, I have that. We'll send this to the Tampa Bay History Center for their review and comment before sending our comments. Were there any other comments or discussions regarding Ms. Bryant's proposal?
There's not a single car, just calling that out. I don't know if that matters, but in the history of transportation, yeah, nothing is represented by the automobile.
But you see a road.
Yeah, exactly. So it could be included, but just.
Which I felt like would have been a great place for the Gandy Bridge.
Yeah, and that could be a really, easy just place to put that in, and then include cars, obviously.
Then we have the issue with scale, right? If that's really. So
I mean, it's not, it's like.
Inclusion of the automobile.
It's also it feels to me like we've been out of Renaissance painting for a while, you know what I mean? Like modernism came and it's not necessary to make a painting that is mimetic to life. or make a image that's mimetic to life anymore. The one thing that I can't, like, I just hear all these things being added, like there needs to be some stuff taken away because like it's already pretty busy. There's a lot of boats. Like,
Yeah.
mostly boats. So it's
I
like
agree. I think it's so jumbled.
less boats. Try to make some sort of just space for this stuff that's supposed to be added.
It isn't a big ship, but
I think once you remove the mountains, it will feel more
yeah, I think
open and spacious because there's a lot of space in the background.
Yeah. I'm kind of talking, I guess I mean these like two boats that are sort of on either side in the foreground, right above the fish.
Yeah, what purpose do they serve? Because they look like the other boats. I mean,
She does reference Henry Plant's steamship. I don't know if either of those are representative of the boats in the foreground.
Is that a cruise ship in the back on the left?
That's the conquistador ship.
No, the one behind it.
This,
What is that object?
Oh, that's supposed to be like the temple now.
yeah, I thought that was.
No, not that. The thing on the right. Okay, is that a building? No. I'm sorry.
Tampa
Next
Airport.
to the airplane, in between the airplanes. Oh,
This,
that's the airport.
that's the airport sign, isn't it?
yes, that is,
Okay. So behind it, that's the airport.
yes.
Okay.
Well, it would be interesting for the history people to look at. I mean, is that what the mounds look like? I didn't think they weren't like pyramid. I thought they were just like rounded mounds. But
I think it's a little, they're probably not spectacular looking in the sense of like spectacle.
So I've added to our list to include the automobile to
what is the
Have-
image in the lower left-hand side below the palm trees?
the panther, there's some animals of some sort down here. Looks like a butterfly,
Okay, so,
two
that's,
butterflies.
yeah, if we just had a bigger image of it.
I guess I wonder like about the air. Like, I hate to do this. Like including the airport. We have a representation of airplanes, past and present. The airport itself just isn't like that interesting to look at. Like it's not like thinking about the building. I'm like I don't know what it looks like when I think about it. It doesn't seem like, and I tell people it's the greatest airport on the planet, but like it's
Not
architecturally significant. You know, the way that like the plant building is. And it seems like I thought it was a cruise ship sitting back here, like coming into port.
I think it's misleading because it's buried in front of some mountains.
Yeah, you would think.
Which doesn't, it's just, I think that doesn't help. You know it's the airport because of the big airport sign.
Right.
I mean, MacDill Air Force Base, she's not showing the whole Air Force Base.
Right, but at least it's like, has like this kind of,
Mm-hmm.
provides something kind of
You know,
visually
the
interesting, it's
hangar.
round and has this kind of thing, right? So,
Well, that is correct, as far as
Yeah.
that is a hangar.
hanger, right,
Yeah.
Yeah, and a hangar is
recognizable, like
recognizable, yeah.
instantaneously,
Yeah.
whereas like that airport back there, I'm looking at it going, I have no idea, I just assumed it was a cruise ship, so it's not a very interesting looking building.
Then do we need a motion to have you go back to Sandra with all the notes that we have and ask for a revisement?
Yep.
Revisal.
Yep.
Number,
Well, I'll do a motion for that. I just want to make sure that I capture the PAC's complete comment.
Okay,
Okay.
one last thing. The UT, it just looks really dark. All of the features of the building are very much lost, and you can't see the beautiful minarets, you know, in their silver state. Also, do you mind zooming into the thing that's to the right of UT and to the left of the train? There's like some weird. Okay, so that's continued.
At the
I'm assuming, so
that's
like,
University of
I'm
Tampa.
assuming that this is all created, it's a Photoshop image, right, where she's like collaging together like
Okay.
images that are pre-existing,
Okay.
and so like,
get rid of the mountains, that's
Yeah,
you
make it
can make
larger. I mean-
Yeah, okay. Yeah, just kind of like, I think that's, yeah, I think that the image that she took that from is just very dark and it's not representative of how UT actually looks.
None of this is. I don't like it.
So I'll recap one last time. The inclusion of a automobile, Yandy Bridge, Port of Tampa. She's in her submission, resubmission, she should include a singular image of her proposal so that it's easy for our viewing. She needs to remove the hills and any other superfluous objects that are in here to make it less cluttery and make room for the additional items. Potentially, a suggestion might be less boats.
I hate to do that, so I just, I really hate to.
We want to ask the Tampa Bay History Center to verify the accuracy of the mounds and to review the overall proposal and ask them for their comments. And for their review of the verbiage, the whole proposal. And the final comment was that the UT image is slightly dark and minarets aren't as prominent. Those are the,
Like, if she wants to create height in the image, it's a great place to do it.
Yeah.
Like, the UT building is, you know, which I like get the impulse of wanting to have is mountains because of, you want some elevation, right? But
One last comment. So I know that with all the animals shown, she has, you know, one of each. She in the top right has 3 Rosetta spoonbills. I'm wondering if we want to include different birds or just, because everything else is just one of each to, I guess, show diversity of the animals, but I'm wondering if maybe you could put in a sandhill crane or we could put in an we have an egret, something else. And it's not that important. We could just also have one bird and that would be fine. One bird in the top right.
is that a comment we want to provide?
I don't know, I feel like it provides a really nice repetition,
Okay.
like just formally, like it's something, it's like a moment of like
Something has a pattern.
casual repetition within like, and it gives us this shape, you know?
I'm fine with that.
We're gonna need some of that height, and I just think like this sort of motion that is not, like, you know, this image does this, right? It goes from there to down to like the train, right? And then on this side it has this cross that comes across this way. Without that hill there, especially, you won't get that.
Got it. Fine with that.
So it's like,
Just
Yeah.
calling out anything that,
Yeah.
you know, to address it now.
I mean, could you still have that same motion if the birds were just different birds?
they could be different
The
birds,
three
but it's
different
nice that
birds?
it's pink, like pink is it's gonna look great in glass, you know, in mosaic, it's gonna like have a nice like pop of color. It also take, you know, like there's a lot of blues and greens and so adding these like goldfish or like the you know, like gives these moments where it kind of has a color that
Unexpected.
that's a little like more complexifies the color palette of the image. Are they spoonbills or are they flamingos?
I look like spoonbills. You can see a little notch in
They're
their
not-
cheek a little bit.
I just wanna
Ibis.
bring
Oh,
this,
scarlet ibis.
Okay.
you know, as I look at this, do we want to have her remove the phosphate bag?
I always
I don't know if that's something that is celebrated.
Or
And it's so huge.
It's so truthful though.
And behind that, I think she has a bag that says cigars when you zoomed in.
Yeah.
It would be great if it was a box.
It actually might be
It is
a box.
Okay, well,
It's just a bad image.
yeah, cigar boxes have a very specific look to them. If we wanted to include it, I suggest she looks at how cigar boxes
Okay.
are really,
Amanda,
Yeah. Hi, Jennifer.
hi, I don't want to change everything too much, but we did agree that those hills in the back are not representative of what we'd like to see. And I was just thinking that between the ship and the big train coming through the middle, it just seems like maybe the train could replace where the hills are and just get out of the way, because it's so big and forward looking. And it's like the train is coming right over, you know, over the bay. And I know there are places where they do, but it's just so big. Seems like we could put in the things that people are recommending if that train could kind of be in the background a little bit better, and where those hills are or those mountains are in the back. I know that's a lot, but I'm just saying.
Yeah. Jennifer,
Yes.
yeah, hi there, it's Georgia. I think that those are real central items right there that are important for the image are the trains and the way that the big ship, because those are like primary how the area grew. I mean, as far as the history, how Hillsborough County grew.
I love the ship and I like the train, but I think the train is overcoming everything else, which is making it not look like Hillsborough County.
Image. I just say if we can get rid of those hills, we can make the University of Tampa larger and some of those other things much larger. So then the train and the ship won't seem so overpowering. So I would give it one more chance. Would recommend that once we get rid of those hills and enlarge UT. I would like to add, as I said about the Port of Tampa, is not an image because we've got the images, but in the commentary is like over when she talks about in 1905 the deep water channels, add more information about how the Port of Tampa then grew. So it's more about historic commentary, and I think she can get that from the history museum, from our historian there. Because
it's just that the train to me is a little overpowering.
we don't address that we have a port
Yeah, the port needs to be, yes, I agree with that, but I just think that train is super big and super long, and while an integral part of the history of Tampa, it sure takes up a lot of that picture.
Mhm.
Does it have to be quite so big?
Now, we do have South Hillsborough County's ferry in there, because that was the first ferry you could get to Tampa, to the city, was, from the Ruskin area, you had to take a ferry.
Right.
Couldn't
We all
drive.
know about strawberries in Hillsborough County, out there in Plant City, as well as down here in Ruskin. And we're focusing on oranges and cigars and phosphates.
Strawberries, real big industry during that time.
Maybe they could replace the phosphate with strawberries.
Perhaps, yeah.
Yeah, instead of the phosphate bag, absolutely, a box of strawberries.
Plus it's like visually better looking in the
Yes.
bag, but,
It'll give it color.
And I don't even know if phosphate's sold in an individual bag. You can just pick up one bag. Yeah.
somebody had to buy it for their soda jerk.
I'm at this point, I think that we're probably nitpicking.
Yeah,
Yes, and.
We definitely are.
And definitely, I think we've addressed the very large.
the main items.
And the main item.
And so my next step, after I get a motion, is I'll send this proposal over to the Tampa Bay History Center, Mr. Rodney Kite-Powell, and ask a member of his staff to review it for us.
Need a motion now?
I do.
It's awful long. So I'm gonna let you write it.
All right.
Make a motion that we ask Sandra Bryant to go for a third revision based on the following, and then write the list. The list that we discussed at the meeting.
I second the motion.
Removal of the mountains, et cetera, et cetera.
Did we list in the motion that we're going to allow the historians at the museum to look at this first?
So this is a motion to request Sandra Bryant to provide a second revision based on PAC and Tampa Bay History Center comments.
Okay,
Very good.
And Georgia, you made that motion.
more or less.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All right, thank you. That is the end of our new business. I will give quick project updates. Carrollwood Village Park, the artwork is complete.
I've seen it, it's very nice.
Oh, thank you. The landscaping is in, even though you don't see it in this picture. And next week I'll be meeting the sign people out there to add the plaque. The roundabout at Bomboya is complete. Signage is still to be determined. Don't know where the appropriate place to put the signage is out there. And if you do it outside of the roundabout, which is probably where it really needs to be, because we don't want to encourage pedestrians to walk up and cross the traffic.
Yeah.
We need to coordinate that with the developer or the homeowners association out there to find out where is a place where we could put this. The roundabout at Riverview Drive, Mr. Gaspar is currently working on that. He's getting his engineering drawings together as we speak. Riverview Alphi River Park, as you guys are aware, Mr. Horse Chief declined to move forward with the contract negotiations. Reached out to Milligan Studios, they were the second rate proposer. As you can see, that is their proposal down there. That was the Native American woman with the headdress that would have like the architectural glass kind of embedded in it. It would be a bronze sculpture. They are still willing to. This is going to the board.
Did it go yesterday?
I think it went yesterday, yeah, for their approval. So I don't know if it was approved. I think it was.
It's like the same 5 people making all of the proposals for.
Well, Durant, Little, and Dover, and also Durant and Miller, as I explained earlier, those construction schedules for the roundabouts have been pushed out so far that we won't see those happening for quite some time. You guys may have left the Public Art Committee and been gone long enough to come back by then. And that is all of that. We've got the Public Art Inventory Assessment. I haven't gotten an update from you or Anna, but that's because I haven't asked for one. I assume that it's still very much ongoing.
We need to set up a schedule again.
All right, and tentatively, our fourth quarter meeting is scheduled for November 15th. Unless there are any, a large number of committee members who know that they won't be here that day.
That's like technically in
What,
2 weeks.
I'm sorry,
from
what
now,
was that?
or
November
2 or 3
15th?
weeks from now. Is it just because of the holidays we're doing it early?
Yeah, typically we do it in November. December is typically a hard month to get
Yeah.
people in, but we can push it out.
No, I
Because-
was just calling out that we may have minimal updates in 3 weeks' time from what we've discussed today.
That is, I didn't didn't anticipate having a second revision go back to the thing.
Yes, at least we'll be able to talk about that.
So I'll have this as a tentative. Give me, until next week to talk to her and see how long she needs to make the revision. She's actually pretty quick. She turned this around in like a week. It's getting all of us together that takes a long time. So let me see how long she needs to make these revisions. I'll also see how long it's going to take the Tampa Bay History Center to provide comments to her. And if need be, is everybody kind of going to be around in the beginning of December?
Yes.
It could be
Yes.
out. I can push this back 2 more weeks.
Sorry, I was just nodding. I'm not gonna be around in the beginning. That's middle of Basil week.
Okay. So I would think December 17th as an alternative.
No, that won't work for me.
The 10th?
Tenth is fine.
The 10th is fine. Okay, as an alternative to this date, I will have December 10th.
Okay.
And I will keep you guys informed as soon as I'm able to confirm something with the Tampa Bay History Center.
You said November, what day in November?
November 15th
Okay.
or December
Or
10th.
December 10th, okay. That's everything.
All right, and call the meeting adjourned at 9:54.
All right, thank you, Amanda.
Thank you guys.